Hallo, and welcome to
Dave.
and the Mackie Shiny Side Out on WCCR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com, revolution.radio. Ha ha! Applause, applause! It is home to fresh, unadulterated ideas and conversations in the chat room and a place to get your merch. This is show number 523. 320 and 500. Dave, equal opportunity offender.
That's true.
I
you don't hate
everybody.
anyone in particular.
No, I hate everybody equally. You can catch us on the air, online, and on your smart device. Everybody does this. I think it's a smart device era. That's where we're at. Anyway, so grab an application to listen anywhere or listen at home on the greatest tabletop digital radio. That's good fun. If you missed Solaris' show, that's okay. You shouldn't, but it's okay because you can always go to the archives. Anyway, she was talking to Russ Tanner, and they were discussing chemtrails, not contrails, but chemtrails. Contrails dissipate relatively swiftly if you watch them.
Yeah.
Chemtrails do not, and contrails usually don't come in, checkerboard patterns or in highly stylized grids.
Plaid.
Right. Whereas chemtrails do. There is a difference. Like there's with crop circles. They're the fake crop circles, and then they're the real crop circles, right? So you got condensation trails, and then you have chemtrails. Okay. And that show was awesome. I didn't catch it, but I will. I'll go to the archives because they're free. The archives are free. So you can go ahead and access the archives. It's really awesome. Please go ahead and do that. Not just her show, our show, anyone's show, really. That's there. It's like there are scores of shows. Scores. Now, also, just one very quick thing. This station is listener funded. That means all of you that are now pressing whatever it is to your ear, or not, maybe you're listening from afar, to a speaker. A speaker is good. Can help us run the station. Because electricity ain't free. Any donation is welcome. Any form of currency. The station takes crypto, cash, money orders, pigeon, gold, little sachets of gold tied around pigeons' necks. That's good. No, but seriously, right? So if you can, please do donate. All the hosts offer their time, expertise, insights for free. So hosts don't get paid. And the station uses all the money just to keep the servers running, really. That's really what it is, right? So please don't let this die. Some things will offend you, other things you might agree with, and yet other things you may never have thought of ever.
And that's a nice balance.
That's a great balance, I think. Right, now before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. For me, it is the Darak people, and for my esteemed co-host.
I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country.
Thank you, Dave. And with that, we would like to pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. And this is where the angry broadcast starts. And you couldn't. I love watching shows on TV. That's my guilty pleasure. Not reality TV shows, but I love watching Rookie. I like Rookie. I like Reacher. I like The Walking Dead. Right. And
I've recognized 1 out of 3 so far.
Right. Well, they're pretty fun shows. And now the thing is this, right? Now sometimes you're swept up in the show and you believe it, right? You believe the narrative, right? I'm actually going somewhere with this.
I love the segue.
Right? And the narrative is great because you're invested. You're invested in the characters. You're invested in the story arc.
Yeah.
Right? You think, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next, and it's believable. Even a planet full of zombies, which by the way is they're never called zombies in the show, right? Just to be clear.
That's right.
It's made believable, right? We don't know what happened or how it happened, but we're faced with the reality. Well, the zombies just the dead rose one day, and here they are, and how do people deal with it? So you get invested in the kind of show, but it's well written, and when it's well written, Dave, it's believable. Sometimes you come across a show where you go, nah, that's a little bit too much. And you call BS, right? Too much. But that's okay because it's entertainment, right?
As long as you take your brain out and leave it at the front door, right? When you watch it, you could be entertained, still be entertained, by something that makes not one lick of sense.
Not one lick of sense. Now, the funny thing is this, though, right? If you look at the last few weeks, months, even maybe years
Yeah.
of what we've been given to swallow as reality,
Mhm.
right? The media and the news cycles and this and that, you could not sell any of this as scripts to TV production or movie houses.
Yeah, so Mickey, imagine if you and I wrote this narrative over for the last 3 years. We wrote this, we pitched it as a TV show back in 2018.
We like to call it the pandemic.
It's never gonna happen. It's never gonna get
Never
up.
gonna happen.
No, forget it. There's no funding for this. What a ridiculous notion.
Yeah, no, right?
Crackhead son. Crackhead son of a president. What the hell?
Son of a gun. And yet here we are. We're being fed this narrative on a daily basis. And whatever. See, it's also funny to see whatever makes the news cycle, right? So it's the pandemic, everything, right? Pandemic, virus, millions of dead, blah, blah, and then nothing.
And look, hey, this is the pitch. This is the pitch meeting, right? So what happens, right? You're going to love this, right? Putin, just for some reason, decides he's going to invade Ukraine. Why is he doing that? Well, see, it's never kind of explained. But we all presume it's for the warm water port. Why does he want... He's got his own ports. Yeah, but they kind of freeze over. I kind of get it, right? Yeah. But we'll have to change that because it's kind of not good enough. Right? So we're going to have food shortages across the planet. Why is that? Oh, because of the war in Ukraine. What?
How does the war in Ukraine affect global food supply chain?
That's right.
Well, you see, that's because of the oil and the shipping lanes. Yeah, shipping lanes and oil. But the shipping lanes, they're not going through the Black Sea, right? They're actually going through the Mediterranean, then down into the Suez Canal, and down again into.
Oh, the canal, Mickey. You mentioned the canal. I've got a piece for that. See, a ship gets stuck across it.
That can't happen. That wouldn't happen. I mean,
there's been a million ships through there. What?
No ship would ever get stuck in there, surely. Look, guys, I think
this is science fiction, right? No.
Yes, look, it sounds interesting, right? Okay, and the whole Putin angle with the Ukraine, okay, but you really got to work on the edges here a little bit, okay?
A laptop, who's going to believe that?
Oh, the laptop, yeah. No, look, and really, an octogenarian is going to be president of the United States, right? With onset Alzheimer's? No, I'm sorry, that's just not going to fly. And sorry, his vice president, she can't string two sentences together. No. Doesn't take ownership of issues.
It's all about the passage of time, Mickey.
No. Look. You want to believe
you saw that, right? The video of Kamala trying to explain the passage of time, and all she did was repeat the same words over and over again, and that was the passage of time, but just kind of introed them a different way.
If I say the same thing 15 times in slightly different ways,
it was 90 seconds long. I don't know how many times you can say it. She got 3 in.
No, it's okay, guys. Look, I dig it, but get a real character like Madeleine Albright, right?
Oh,
the first woman
solid.
to be, right? Okay, it was a bad mistake to appoint a Jewish woman to lead peace talks in the Middle East, but so be it, right? I mean, but see, we can work with that. But what you're proposing here is ludicrous. I'm sorry, right?
It'll need a rewrite. Right?
Yeah,
it'll end up a Disney princess holiday in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh, George,
is that come. The movie we wrote?
George Orwell is going to give you a hand rewriting this stuff. Okay, he's got a better handle on reality. George Orwell is so yesterday, man. No, come on.
No. He goes. You sound like that Battle of LA guy, who we've interviewed, and he wrote and pitched the movie, and then they changed it to Battle of Los Angeles, and they changed it all
completely to now, and there's nothing even remotely.
Only the word battle. That's pretty much
Battle is still there. That's mine. I copyrighted that. Hurrah! I'll get royalties for it.
And not very many royalties.
But that's where we are, guys. Everybody out there in the world, nobody would buy that script of you.
And pandemic going for how many years now?
Well,
this is with new variants and what you've got a vaccine, but the vaccine. This is going to be a little. I'm not providing medical advice. But you give everyone the same vaccine just over and over again, like 4 times, and just hope it does something. Right? Look, I think that movie I think the movie concept would never get up, and it's so unbelievable. And this is why week on week we look at the news and still can't believe just how non-movie like pitch meeting it is. It's well, okay. So I've got a screen grab here, which Meki, I've mentioned the laptop.
Yeah.
And how the narrative has changed from 11 months ago, when people completely didn't believe it at all, to now it's a thing, and Sky News and Fox News are pretty much on the same page, and they're trying to get the story out there, but still the CNNs of the world don't like it. They don't believe it's a thing yet, and won't admit it. They won't, and all the people that they had on their program on CNN to dismiss it refuse to be interviewed about it today, because they won't change their mind.
Come on, change your mind.
And I think that's really interesting. So the thing about being intelligent and being able to formulate your opinion and an answer, like your conclusion, based on all of the appropriate information, which is fluid. It's not a one-time event where you stamp your name with that's what I'm gonna, blue or red. No, it's meant to be something that changes as new information and comes to hand, right? Great. Otherwise, you're just belligerent.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Be that way. But guess what? The Earth isn't flat, and Australia isn't. It's real, and we're not crisis actors.
Yeah, no, not today.
Yeah, because I'd like 10 times the wage I got for that. That'd be great. That's still zero.
Oh yeah.
For that acting job. Sure, I'll tell you, it's been hard, Mickey, acting out all this time, acting that we exist.
Well, I'm just a figment of my imagination, so I'm okay. See, I'm a method actor, dude. I got it down. Yeah. I'm working it, baby.
What did you have to draw out for yourself to be able to
do that?
Yeah, to bring it out.
I just imagine, nothing. I get up in the morning, nothing, and I'm doing nothing.
Yeah,
just lie in bed all day, and because I don't exist, so it doesn't matter. It's all good. It's great, actually.
Right. So you only kind of come to life when you need it, right?
Well, no, I wouldn't call it that. I wouldn't call it come to life.
No,
but yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, very good. Very well. You're a great interview.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and we'll just pull out a little bit. We'll unpack a little tiny piece, and this could be labeled as hypocrisy for us to call them out on it, and that is calling out Sergei Lavrov, who this week said, and Meki, feel free to chime in at any time, right? He said, "We're in a hybrid war." This term was used by Nazi Germany, by many European politicians when they talk about what they want to do with the Russian Federation. Crazy, right? Okay, great. Going good so far. And the goals are not hidden, he said. They are declared publicly to destroy, break, annihilate, strangle the Russian economy and Russia on the whole. He continues, when we see this lawlessness of sanctions, of course, it is clear that all these values that our Western colleagues constantly preach to us, meaning of freedom of expression, market economy, the inviolability of private property, the presumption of innocence, all these values are worthless, he says. Right? As soon as the West needs to do something concrete to Russia, they easily discard these values. It is clear that despite all these efforts, there is no question of any isolation of Russia, and such a goal was set by the West. I will say more. I like someone who just begins talking to announce that they're going to say more by saying, "I say more." We're just continuing speaking would be enough. Right? I say more. We are not going to isolate ourselves. We have many friends, allies, partners in the world, a huge number of associations in which Russia is working with countries of all continents, and we will continue to do so. The vast majority of countries have not joined and will not join, I am convinced. The games that the West is playing with its so-called sanctions policy. And the vast majority of world countries are interested in developing equal interstate cooperation based on the key principles that are laid down in the UN Charter. First of all, he doesn't continue, this is an abridged version. First of all, the principle of sovereign equality of states. The West rudely tramples on it and imposes its superiority on everyone. Okay, the first thing that I typed this, by the way, as I was watching the video. So there was a longer version. I just, like, my fingers gave out. I don't type that much. All right. So one thing that I think was extraordinary is I was actually beginning to get my blood boiling when I was listening to him say the very words that are disguised in a way to hide what they're actually doing by calling everybody else out doing it. But rather, they're not. One thing that I think that the sovereign equality of states, okay, great, yeah, because you're not taking someone else's, are you? Right? And I thought to myself, Mickey, that's the pot calling the kettle black. What?
Yeah, we can't say that anymore, Dave. Yeah, so can you just make it less offensive, please?
Okay, so the pot calling the kettle clean challenged?
Better. We got to work on the pot and the kettle thing because they're like, archaic terms. No one knows them anymore, but you're okay for now.
Thank heavens. This was really hard, Mickey, for me to listen to. It was difficult for me to listen to him say these words. But then, all I could think about was, hang on a minute. There's a ton of hypocrisy here in me, thinking that they're the ones doing something wrong. Hasn't the last 40 years not been exactly the same? Haven't we gone into places like Iraq?
Well, see, that's the funny thing, right?
Destroyed a place.
The coalition of the willing undertook to wage an illegal war, as far as international law is concerned, as far as the UN is concerned, killing in the process, roughly 1 million Iraqis and many thousands of coalition soldiers, including very many US soldiers, never mind the maimed and otherwise disabled. And eventually giving birth to the breakup of the Iraqi nation, as well as giving rise to what we now refer to as ISIS. But that was yesterday, Dave. Remember?
Yeah.
Right?
It's hard to remember yesterday.
Yeah, I know it's a long while, right?
The 24-hour news cycle has sucked all of my care out.
Sucked all of the care out.
I got nothing left.
It is, but look, it's really quite insane if you think about it, right? We're now looking at all of these events that are happening right now, and we feel like we can throw rocks, right? We've got a moral high ground.
Oh, righteousness.
No. Not today,
In fact, not at all. And in fact, shut your pie hole.
Shut your pie hole now, because But it's the same thing that happened when Afghanistan was invaded, right?
Yeah.
I remember this very clearly. There was an interview that was conducted, and the interviewer, to his credit, the reporter said, "But hang on, aren't these the same people we gave weapons to back in the 80s to fight the Russians? Didn't we train them? Didn't the CIA go in there and turn them into really effective fighting forces?" You know what the answer to that was? That was then. This is now.
It's all different.
Don't concern yourself with the past. That's essentially.
Quit living in the past, Marge.
Yeah, quit living in the past, Marge. There you go. So, now you're getting it.
Well, it'd be because before it was ISIS, wasn't it? The Taliban, right? And the other one was another.
Mujahideen. We used to call them Mujahideen, right?
Yeah. Okay.
America
gave them passports and brought them to the US and taught them how to trained them how to look after an oil pipeline. Gave them weapons.
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Well, and then sent them back, and then they went. This is I don't like this. Can we have some more money? No. Okay, now you're America's #1 enemy.
It's really quite astounding if you take the time to think about it. We are truly living in a world that doesn't like to remember anything. Remember, what does Homer Simpson say? Everything looks bad if you remember it.
That's right.
That's what Homer said to Marge. Everything looks better. Don't remember it. I mean, what are you, crazy now? What's going on over here?
But look, to be honest, there's always an historian in the family.
Yes.
That means the person who remembers all the bad times. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's always one of those.
There's always a troublemaker.
Can't we just reset every day like a sitcom?
Hey, I like that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I've tried. You get very little buy-in on it, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, except let's like I thought, what a great thing to do and have a discussion with your loving partner and say, you know what, you're not allowed to go to bed angry. Let's talk everything out. Yeah, just do one day at a time, and no argument is allowed to bring up the past. And everyone goes, yeah, that's great. You know, you shake hands. It's all kumbaya.
I like it.
And then, you know, not 5 minutes later, right? Can you turn the light off? Oh, no, I always turn the light off. You do it. You never do it. That's bringing up the past in an argument. It's not allowed. Right, okay, well, if we take turns, I'll do it today. Great. Then the next day you have exactly the same conversation. You never turn the light out. No, I did it yesterday. It's your turn. We talked about turns. No, I'm already warm. Okay. Well, or you're just going to wear sleep with the light on. Good luck.
The light stays on. Hey, go ahead. Compromise. That's what it's called, compromise.
So the next day she gets a clapper.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah.
It really is.
It would be funny if it weren't true.
It'd be so funny if it weren't true, right? We are really this is really the issue here, right? And that's why it wouldn't work as a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is just unbelievable. The things that
we didn't mention the fires and the floods, and then the floods, and now we're getting some more floods.
It is. Yes, I mean, actually, I was driving out today, and there was massive amounts of water that had pooled on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Quite significant, and I thought, oh, well, this is not so good. There was a bit of aquaplaning as well. I mean, you know,
good.
Yeah, that's nice and fun. But yes, we are living through interesting times, and we're doing nothing. And I mean that in the fullest sense of the word. We're doing nothing to avert any of this. I'm watching all these sound bites, Dave.
Yes.
So videographs, right?
Mm-hmm.
This Indian scientist, I think a lady, or maybe Bangladeshi, but I think she might be Indian. She said, we are the make or break point. And I can't do the Indian accent really well, so I don't want to do it.
No, that's fine. You don't only offend people. That's right. Self-censorship. You just witnessed it here, folks.
There you go. And she said, to make a break point, we got to do something now. Yeah, so the answer is no. No, we should have done something 30 or 40 years ago.
That's right.
Maybe, right.
And right even now, if we do it now, it doesn't change anything anyway.
No. So right now, you might as well just, get the popcorn and watch the show, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Okay? I hate to say that. There is no saving grace unless, some magic miracle, scientific-wise, comes our way and goes, oh, look, it's magic. Everything is good now. Everything is fine. No, it really isn't.
So on the climate change point, 30 degrees above normal temperature in the Arctic, and the Antarctic had 40 degrees above normal temperatures.
Yes,
and that's Celsius, by the way.
In case you're wondering, that's a lot. In case that's not clear.
Yeah. That's... And look, if those temperatures were above zero, it would have been like that's a freezing point. That would have been very, very bad. But it's the first time since they've occupied those areas where these temperatures have done this, and they're scratching their heads trying to work out why, which is really interesting. But we'll see the fruits of that effort of the temperature if it gets above zero, because then you get melting, and you know, you've got to be concerned about the position that we're in. It doesn't matter what the cause is, don't care what the cause is. And for me, I personally am in the belief that we are still experiencing our thaw from the last ice age. Right? Where because the sea level was much higher before we went into the ice age. And the climate's warming, but I'm talking about the melting. So the melting is still going on, and it's going to keep going on until there isn't any ice. They say that when the sea levels were at their highest before the last ice age, it was universally iceless, the planet, except for snowfall. And that's it. So good luck with that. That's all I can say.
And don't we all need it? Yes, we do.
Oh, a waterfront property, wherever you are.
Yeah, but look, but this is it, though, right? I mean, I know we keep harping on about it, but what you need to do is to get ready. Be ready. Make sure your community is strong,
right? That's the point.
And create, I don't know, depending where you live, create safe points you can withdraw to, or if it's a higher ground event, go to higher ground.
Food storage.
Yeah, all of that stuff, right? And then think long term as well. What do you need? What do you need to let's say all the services are gone. Let's say, for argument's sake, we are no longer so 911 no one picks up, and that actually happened. So in Australia, so it happened in the States with Katrina and other emergencies. No one picked it up. In Australia, for the first time, 000 rang out. We had the floods up northern New South Wales, southern Queensland, Lismore, etc. 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 And for the first time, nobody answered. Nobody picked up.
Yeah, there was two contributing factors. One was that all the cell towers were out because they were underwater. Yeah, so the power source around underwater. All the exchanges, the telephone exchanges were underwater and inoperative. And so when there's a flood so vast that you can't yell and someone can hear you, you can't make a phone call and someone can hear you, you can't make a cell call and no one can hear you, right? Because there aren't any. It's just nothing. That's the biggest issue, and there was a governmental delay, just like it was our Katrina, where the stadium in New Orleans was ended up filled with people and there was still no assistance.
It's horrendous. It really is. I mean, but imagine just imagine for a second. Put yourself. I mean, we're not just telling you a story here, right? This is actually what happened. Imagine yourself in dire need of something. Someone is injured. A loved one in your family is injured. You're injured, maybe, right? And you're calling 911 or 000, whatever the emergency number in your particular country is, whatever the number is. Nobody comes. In fact, nobody picks up. Nobody picks up. No, sorry, we're all out for coffee. Well, not really. I mean, they're all busy beyond belief, but there's just no one there to help you. That's it. You're now on your own. Can you? I mean, what happens now? What do you do? What do you do? And this is really something that you need to think about seriously, because these things, the Ukrainians didn't think they're going to be in a war. Okay? They didn't think, I mean, there's always a threat of war, sure enough, but they didn't really, I guess, expect it necessarily, right? And yet it happened. Shoot, the Russians did invade. What do we do now, right? And they had to make some, really quick decisions, some choices which might have been less than savory. Who knows, right? The point is that you can't just leave these things to chance. You gotta be prepared, right? You have to be prepared. But most people are not. Don't be that, don't be the unprepared. Don't be those people. Be prepared.
Yeah. So like in an aircraft, you put your own oxygen on first so you can help someone else. Don't put theirs on for them and then you're without it. Yep. Because you're incapable of doing it at that point. Look after yourself. Make sure you are okay. Make sure your family is okay. Very important. So food shortages now are occurring in the US. Food shortages are being countered in China, by the government saying hoard food. Do whatever you can. Store as much food as you can. In Russia, there's been some shortages, sort of like when our pandemic was the highest, right? It's not everything. Still, there's a whole shelf of tofu still left. Right? Because I'm not that hungry.
Not yet.
Yeah, I know. So we have a soup and socks drive going on at the moment with one of the organisations I'm with, and what's unusual about it is they go, make sure they've got those little the ring pull lids on these cans. Well, that's actually pretty good. Maybe I should tell people on our show that you might go that direction. And I thought, wait a minute, our people are smarter than that. If you find a can, even a can during a nuclear war, and there's a can that it's got the label is burnt off, but you can you recognize the brand, right? Somehow. Mm-hmm. You just scrape the bottom of it or the top, whichever, doesn't matter. It's relevant, and scrape it on some concrete or on a rock, and it scrapes away the top. As soon as you see like liquid starting to come out, invert it and just peel the top off. Mm-hmm. You don't need to, because everyone was thinking, I'll get cans, I'll get a lot of canned food, but make sure that they're cans of stuff you don't need to cook. That could be a problem. And I thought, well, maybe some people had mentioned to me in the past, Becky, what you do, you tape a can opener to each can. Mm-hmm. So
that's an excellent idea. Yeah.
It's not bad. And if a house is hit by a tornado and they're thrown everywhere, now you've got a sharp thing and a projectile together, right? Yeah, but if one lands next to you, you go, oh, cool, I can just eat it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are some really interesting ideas, but look, power to me is the next biggest
power
issue.
Is massive. We are completely helpless without power.
Absolutely.
Like we really are. That's a fact.
I would have no mortgage if there was no power. I'd be okay.
On that front, you would be all right.
Because I think that's how I think. You go, well, there is no power. Ooh, that's a good day. That'd be a great day. I've got 20 pumpkins growing here at the moment.
Next week, cannibalism! Hurrah!
Woo! And I look up from the arm that I'm already chewing on. And you go, what?
What zombies? What?
What, too soon?
Much too soon.
And then they point at me and say, here, he started last week, right?
So look, we don't, we're not trying to poke fun at the apocalypse, but these are scenarios that are going to happen. I mean, your neighbors are going to eat you, right?
If we can make you remember that you need to do these things, that's a win for us. It's a win for you.
Yeah, completely.
Right? Buy a book on how to farm. Or, like one of those really big almanac style ones where every edible plant is when do you plant it and what do you need to do to maintain it? And then it's harvest. I've got one of those.
No, I got one on order, which is like, it's called the book or whatever it is, right? It's got everything in it.
Yeah, I know, I've got one. Mm-hmm.
It's a Kickstarter thing, right? Anyway, so hopefully it comes through. So, people have made these things available to us. So, avail yourself often. You can. Because better to have it, not need it, and need it, not have it, right? As redundant as saying as this might be.
Well, do you know what? All you do is just eat it. And you should be eating from your food stock that you have stored anyway, to keep it fresh.
100%.
You eat from the oldest and you replace it with the newest, moving everything down.
That's exactly
And if you don't get practice in eating the stuff that's in your food stock, then you've been buying the wrong things.
Yes. Well, I'll eat this one day. It's like the book that you buy and never read, right? The War and Peace. I'll reach you one day. Sure you will. I'm sure you will.
It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times.
What? Billions in research.
Yeah, that's right. Like, and don't buy, canned turnips or something if you don't eat turnips.
Ooh, they'll come into fashion. I'm sure. I love them one day.
Turnip juice, Shelbyville. Yeah.
But yeah, so be sensible about it, right? And I know we're talking a lot more about prepping and such these days, but ultimately, it's becoming a lot more relevant as we move along. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, honestly, that there would be another war in Europe, and then they're bandying about this whole nuclear scenario. It's just insane. It's just nuts. Really? Wow. Holy moly.
Mackie, on that point, I was watching a telecast of Biden talking to, I think it was an airborne platoon, and he's in a building. Oh, yeah. He's in a building, and they're all in seats, and they're all in their uniforms, and he, in between the mumblings on the microphone, which was if you had what are like the words at the bottom. Oh, you're watching
the teleprompter.
No. If you're watching, if you're watching a movie with subtitles, every once in a while it'll just have square brackets inaudible. So most of the stuff that he was saying was inaudible, and then he said, "When you're on the ground," and he was talking to the troops as though they were going to battle. They were going to go to Europe. They're going to go to Ukraine, and they're going to be fighting against Russia. And this was this airborne battalion of ground troops. They're going to get flown in because when you're on the ground, you might encounter. And he mentioned gas, poisonous gases, and this whole bunch of things. But in between, it was kind of like that old English guy. Had to marry the leader. Rather large monkey. That's what it was like. He was like, when you're on the ground,
you don't
poison gas.
He's talking in tongues. He's speaking in tongues.
If only that were true. So that was quite funny, because then I've discovered after watching that the press secretary had to then back out everything that he said that was incorrect, according to the current narrative. It was, to me, watching it, it was almost like they'd had that first meeting with him about going in later.
I don't remember anything.
If and when, and then he just took it as real again, and he's there going, it's like he went forward in time and was just addressing him before they're leaving, right? Oh yeah, you're going to do us proud. You're going to be there in the ground. What? Who's doing what now?
No, sir, this isn't the deployment yet. Is it?
So once again, his ditherings tell me that they should have him in a padded version of a bunker, which is dressed out just like the White House, and he has a little rubber button that he can press, like maybe inflatable so he can't hurt himself. And every time he presses it, the nurse comes in and goes, "That's not the nuke button." Right?
Don't touch this. Don't touch this.
Yeah. I think he really feels like that. I don't know. I think he's lost it. So Kamala did some very strange things, talking about the passage of time. And she had some ramblings. And then I watched Pelosi doing some ramblings. And oddly, with that kind of one eye blinking slower than the other.
The Simpsons, Blink.
Yeah. Have they all been simplified? Because I'm sure there's a CIA tool that can simplify people.
Look into the light. Do not swallow. What? Why would you say that?
There was a song at one point that just had the lyric in the middle of it, no other words. It just said, all the music stopped, and it says, "Don't look up," and then it keeps going. And of course, everybody had to look up.
That's what happens.
Not the movie "Don't Look Up," which is actually...
Don't think of pink elephants. Whatever you do, no pink elephants in your mind.
He's done it again.
Free your mind.
He's done it again.
What's the elephants now? I don't know.
The elephants are going to kill us all.
We must do it to them before they do it to us.
Platinum Rosebud. That's my favourite quote. That's what you lift the phone up and the other person on the other end just says those two words and hangs up. And now you're, what is it, Manchurian candidate?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You're activated.
That's right. Bingo. I've got to go get myself some ice cream. But that wasn't what we told him to do.
Back to the drawing board.
Mr. Simpson, when I stamp your foot and say, "Hello, Mr. Sampson," you say hello. I think he's talking to you.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You must love it. I order you to love it.
So, maybe, Becky, we should have pitched all this to the Simpsons because they would have run with it.
They would have.
Not Netflix. Not Netflix. Yeah.
What's Netflix going to do for you soon? Come on.
Take my money. That's what they do.
That's what they do all day long.
Do you know what I do, Mickey? I subscribe to a ton of different things. And every member of the family voted for their own thing to watch. And do you know what they watch?
What do they watch?
None of it.
None of it? Okay.
Everyone watches YouTube, and that's pretty much the entirety of their viewing pleasure.
Right. Really?
Yeah. Everybody.
Okay.
My partner, she'll watch Disney Plus or something like that because that was kind of new. So she'll go through that and binge every episode of everything that she's ever wanted to watch. Okay, I was binging America's Greatest Superhero. It's one of my little secret things I like. I just like the whole premise of the aliens and the suit and the CIA guy. And
I don't think I've seen that.
Well, you really should. It was from the 80s, and it was filmed around about the time that I was there. So all the streets and the climate and everything, and the people, and yeah.
That's cool. I love
just
that.
like Fast Times at Ridgemont High was filmed while I was there as well.
Oh yeah, I love Fast Times.
Yeah, and yeah, but it's extraordinary though. I have to say that the suit never landed in my lap. That would have been fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I know we got it quite off track because look, what's going on in the world at the moment, Mackie, and I'm sure you've got friends that are asking you, and because I've got a couple of friends that have said, Dave, you've been right the whole time. From when the pandemic began, you were spot on. And I go, yeah, because we planned for this. This thing has happened. What they were going to do with controls they put in place, and then it kind of became a circus.
Yeah.
And now the fourth shot is being approved, or as it has been approved. I think Atagi were looking at that for us, and I don't know what to say. When they go, what's going to happen next? I said, well, I didn't think the Ukraine thing with Russia and Ukraine was going to be a thing. I didn't know. Right, but now that it is, what do you think? Oh, well, there's a few different opinions, and one is clearly yours, Mickey, that he'll only take what he wants, right? And he's pretty much got that now, except for one little town, and if you can take that it might be enough. I think that I've heard like 16,000 troops and some hideous amount of planes and tech, jamming devices that I was watching. The breakdown of the Russian losses. America's given the Ukraine a bunch of the anti-air missiles that they bought off somebody else. They were the Russian ones. So they could reverse engineer them or, find out the good and bad. And now they've given them to the Ukraine. Ukraine seems to be doing really well with its guerrilla warfare style.
They've pushed back on the Russians, like 100 kilometers of ground they gained, which is phenomenal, really. Think about that. But yeah, they're doing extremely well.
The armored vehicles and tank losses are off the charts, and what's happened as a result? And generals. Yeah. Who knew they were consumable? But what I found, Meg, I found a story this week to do with the tank and armored vehicle manufacturing company itself has now run out of parts.
Oh, I heard about that.
and what the first story said was that they ran out of parts and they've halted production of new vehicles. And I was starting to read between the lines. And what it meant was that they decided to keep their supply chain parts that they had in stock rather than making new ones, but for keeping the current ones alive for repairs. They needed to have those rather than build net new just to keep the current ones going. But what they've seen now is massive losses on the tanks and armored vehicles. It's just okay. So in military simulations, with any two countries going to war these days, the exotic materials required in the Gen 6 fighters, for instance, the aircraft, can't be manufactured. It's not like, it's just fiberglass or carbon fiber. Now, these are exotic materials that have to, be dug up, processed, come from all around the world. And supply chains would mean that you'd never be able to manufacture Gen 6 planes. You'd have to drop back to, say, Gen 5 or less, even Gen 4 planes. I could imagine us going all the way back to World War II fighters as because they're these simple metals. There's not much in those, right?
Yeah.
So there's enough scrap iron to be able, or steel, to be able to build the World War II style effort. But the modern stuff with the chips and oh goodness, no, and you would be holding back as a military strategist. You'd be really selectively choosing when to use your high tech. And would you go in like in cricket, just go hard in the first innings, and whatever you win at whatever cost it is? And they're the questions. Back to you in the studio.
No, but look, these are excellent questions, right? And this is as we're watching this unfold. I mean, what is the Russian strategy here, right? Now we know what they're trying to do. They tried to take Kyiv, that failed. At least so far, they tried to create a land corridor between the regions they're occupying, as well as to gain some ports. That is not failing, but in the process they flattened the city. Now, when you raise a city, because a city is usually a valuable commodity to have, like the infrastructure, the production facilities, the people themselves.
Yep.
When you do that, you know that you have no choice, because you rather occupy it. So you raise it, right? Either to make a point, or because you can't, or you can't hold it. So the Romans made a point by raising Carthage. There was a point in it, right? They raised this thing and they salted the ground, gone, erased from history. The Russians are not making a point here, because that's just inflaming it, right? So any Russian soldiers that are being captured now, or they can't call on the Geneva Conventions and all that. They'd be executed by the Ukrainians because they've flattened Mariupol. Mariupol is now just rubble. A city of a few 100,000 people now turned to rubble, but the port facility is not touched. Now, the reason they did that is because they can't hold the city. They can't engage in the warfare that's required to hold it, to take it, to garrison it. It's just too expensive, and it's a money question here again, right? And this is the long and short of it.
So the Ukrainians took out one of those land transport vehicles.
Yeah.
Right? And they've only got 4 of them. And one is in service, meaning they've only got 3 in active service. And they've taken the other 2 away now so they can keep them. if I was the Ukraine, and this is that, the burning and run.
Yeah.
If they destroyed the port, the immediate use of the port would be useless. But then you've got to rebuild, and Russia looks like it might be able to be, it would suit that purpose. They just mow all the buildings down, right? What's left, push them to the side, and have like a rubble pile protection corridor. It doesn't seem like it's off the cards for them to do that. Not even caring about any the removal of any bodies or anything like that.
No. Just build on top. I mean, that's how it's horrendous.
Just concrete it, yeah. Done. Yep. Get the Greek out in you, just concrete everything. Everything's
concrete everything.
Yeah.
Our listeners might not understand what that means.
Oh, okay. So I had Greek neighbours, and they had a nice lawn when they moved in, and then they just decided to concrete all of it.
That's what you do.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay, because in Greece, that's kind of what they did everywhere, right? And they were living on marble. So most of the hills were marble. And so why not, right?
Marble away.
Anyway, so saying all of that, and with all the simulations that I'm seeing, and how I would play the game if it were a current first person, or a role playing or strategic game, depending on which side I was on, I would, if I was Russia right now, I'd reduce all my troop movements just down to that corridor and be happy that I won that. But I don't think Ukraine's going to give up that easy. I think they're going to still fight the rebel fight. There's guerrillas to disrupt that as much as possible. As far as taking Kiev, I really struggle to see that. The only thing I think they're attempting to do is stop the transportation of these weapons coming from the west, right? To bolster their number. That's what I think their strategy is. The Russian strategy to prevent those weapons coming in. It's because I saw some hits. They've got really. Russia has once again 4 of those jammers, and 1 has now been taken intact. So those jammers can also affect the airborne. What are they? The surveillance planes, the AWACS. It can disrupt that. It can also disrupt satellite comms, and it can pinpoint where you are with a cell phone, and then they can send a missile towards that location. So if you're a troop on the ground in Ukraine, make sure your phone is off at all times unless you need it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's a really good point.
Because they know where you are, right? Because they've taken the towers out, and there's the effective towers, and all the comms go through it. So, and the Russian are using Chinese-made unencrypted walkie-talkies. That's really interesting.
Which is not ideal. That's right.
Well, you can't kill the system if it hasn't got towers.
That's true.
But then it's unencrypted, so you can hear all the language that's being spoken.
Oh, the chatter.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's what you want.
And ears are on everywhere there, to be honest with you.
That will be the music.
Hey, this is David Mackey's Shiny Side Out. The first hour is completed. We're going to come back with Ancient Aliens Part 5. So stay tuned and use the time to donate.